What is up, strong and healthy moms? So I am back for part 3 of a Build a Strong Metabolism series. And I'm super freaking pumped today because it is literally case study day. One woman's approach to getting more energy, feeling freaking stronger, and actually getting stronger, right? That's what we focus on around here. And naturally losing a little bit of body fat along the way, right? And that one woman is me. I'm actually going to share my case study from, hey Jen, from late, my dates, I have a little timeline written out here. I'm going to say about late 2021. Okay. So approximately 7 months ago. And I just want to share, sometimes when we get into things and we talk about things that we do with our bodies and how we eat and how we work out and whatever, hearing it is all well and good, right? But sometimes you need to understand how it actually went down in somebody's life, and what came out of it, and some real tangible, this is what happens type thing when we apply what we know. Okay. So that's why I wanted to talk today. So if you have not quite caught up on part 1 yet, which is all about how to rock your nutrition to build a strong metabolism, you'll want to do that. It is jam-packed with information, and it's going to maybe be an eye-opener as to why things have been feeling off for you lately. If you have not caught part 2, which is all about how to strength train in a simple fashion a couple days a week to build a stronger metabolism. You'll also want to catch up on that one. It's jam-packed with what you need to know, and how sometimes what we think we need to do to get stronger, get healthier, lose a little body fat is not actually what we need to do to get the job done, right? Sometimes social media and what's implied around on social media can be misleading for moms. And so I wanted to share my actuals and all of the good stuff that has gone down for me and that I'd like to share with you, okay? So if you missed part 1 and part 2, go ahead and comment. Drop me a comment, part 1, part 2, or just comment that you want both of them, and I'll just shoot you the link directly to those free videos, okay? So let's set the stage. Late 2021. I have been a girl who has been healthily consistent with her workouts for many, many years, right? About that 3 per week marker, okay? So that's something that, even though I talked about strength training in part 2, even at the end of 2021, I was doing that. I've been doing that for several years, right? That's not something new that I've adopted. That's a principle that I have been owning for many years of my life, right? And I love to help moms just like you get up to that place, right? Build their strength and build a solid foundation. But there were a couple things that I was noticing about myself towards the end of 21. And I would say probably towards the middle of 21. But sometimes feeling a certain way, for me, I have to feel a certain way for a long time before I'm oh shit, I've been feeling a certain way, right? And it has to kick in and sink in a little bit, right? And so, that was kind of happening for me. So if I was being honest, it's probably been, July-ish 21 where I noticed I was feeling how I'm about to tell you I'm feeling, okay? And here's what was going down for me. I prioritize sleep. I have for a long time. But I was noticing something about myself, even though I was prioritizing sleep, right? Going to bed at a decent hour, and all of that good stuff, and trying to be cognizant of getting those 7 to 8 hours every night. I was noticing myself waking up a lot in the middle of the night, or I was noticing myself not able to wind down to sleep, even though I was tired during the day. I was noticing almost a nervous energy where I could not wind down during the day to fall asleep, right? And so what was happening is, even though I was probably in my bed for 7 to 8 hours at night, I was noticing that my sleep was not as restful as it once had been, not as deep as it once had been, not as I wasn't feeling as rested, right? And thus my energy, right, was great in the morning when I woke up. And I'd always joked about this for a couple years to my husband, hey, I'm cool. I can wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I want to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 4:30 in the morning or something like that. Hello, Krista. I want to wake up early in the morning, but by 2 p.m., if you ask me to do something after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, good freaking luck. Mentally, I'm exhausted. I'm shot, right? I just don't have the mental stamina, the patience, the wherewithal to like handle life the same as I do in the morning after 2:00 in the afternoon, right? Me and my husband used to joke about that, like, ooh, it's 2:30. It's pretty much Amanda shut off time, right? And I was also noticing that my mood was snappier than normal. Yeah, girl, same, right? My mood was snappier than normal. And like I have times where I can I can have a lot of patience, right? And then that patience button shuts off, right? I was a little bit snappier than normal. I wasn't loving it. And I was like, my mood was okay a lot of the time, but I also noticed that there was these increased times where I was very anxious. I had this like nervous energy about me. And when I would sit back, I'm like, I literally have nothing to be nervous about. I literally have nothing to worry about. I mean, we as moms don't have the ability to always shut off the worry button, right? But when I would step back and take an inventory, I'm like, what the flip? I have a good life. Like, we all have things that were going on in our life. You know, we all have things that we have to deal with and we have to manage, of course. But like, I didn't have a reason for this like kind of like edgy, unexplained, sort of like, I would call it a little bit of worry. I would call it a little bit of anxiety. This like nervous energy. I didn't have a need for that, right? I didn't have a need for that. There was like nothing that I could see was causing that, right? And whatnot. And I was also noticing that my digestion, while it was okay, like I was going to the bathroom like normal, pee and poop, whatever. We're women here and we talk about things like that. And we must talk about things like that when we talk about nutrition and fitness and, you know, taking care of ourselves, because those are important processes. I could pee and poop like nobody's business, right? Like, cool, we're good on that. But I would notice this, like, I felt like I was fluidy, right? I felt like I was fluidy. I was like retaining some fluid sometimes, or I was retaining fluid after eating a meal, or I was retaining fluid after eating a meal that I didn't make. Right? And so I was kind of like, am I sensitive to some food? What's going on here? And I was noticing like bloating and stuff like that. And it wasn't because I couldn't go to the bathroom, but it was like, there was just definite like, okay, you know, like last summer I was 38. Maybe we're at that stage of life where things shift and things change. Maybe it's age, you know, and maybe it's hormones, and maybe it's, you know, stress, and maybe it's a whole bunch of other things, right? And because of all those things, I finally was getting curious towards that late 2021 stage, right? Where I was like, you know, I'm not aware of myself generally. I spent a lot of years trying to avoid weighing myself because, you know, like there was previous years of my life where I was taking too much stock into what that number meant, right? But I'm kind of like, that's long gone, that's long past. Like, and so I was really getting curious because I was feeling like, okay, I have this weird bloated feeling, and I have this weird fluidy feeling, and I have this weird like kind of nervous energy about myself, and I like it's an unsettled space, right? And I was like, so what is my weight doing, right? So I started to hop on the scale again and use that as a tool to tell me like, I wasn't like weighing myself as a means to like, I should lose weight or I should gain weight or I should change my weight. I was using the scale more so as a daily tool to tell me like, is it staying stable, you know, or is it swinging around, or is it, and trying to start to understand how that was correlating with how I was feeling digestion wise, how I was feeling mood wise, how I was sleeping or not sleeping, right? So I was almost like starting to take my own like inventory of self and a whole bunch of different markers for myself that I thought were really, really valuable to tell me about what was going down in my body, right? And so that was going on. Meanwhile, I'd also been to, you know, I had avoided going to the doctor for like, I tend to avoid going to the doctor anyway, just because I hate going to the doctor. But I had not gone to the doctor for probably 2.5 years for like an annual checkup, partly because of, you know, like the pandemic and it just wasn't convenient to go, and partly because it's really easy for me to put things off, right? And so I did schedule that because I was like, okay, be responsible. Like if there's something going down, let's figure it out, right? There was nothing going down. Right? So like everything was kind of quote unquote, like my blood pressure is normal, my vitals are normal, my everything is normal. And there was like no explanation, right? Which kind of, that pisses me off because I'm like, cool, but I'm not just going to accept like you're getting older, things are shifting, right? I just hate that kind of stuff because it's like it puts us in this like you must succumb to everything that's coming at you instead of putting yourself in the driver's seat and figuring out a plan of action for yourself to help yourself feel good mentally, physically, and whatnot, right? I'm gonna need to drink some water today because I can already tell like I have a tickle in my throat. So I'm going to talk like probably like month by month and just share a synopsis of what I did personally that I really thought was kind of a bunch of BS at the time, but turns out it was really, really helpful. And then I'm going to share what I noticed physically, emotionally, like mentally, digestion wise. I'm going to share what I learned about my body along the way. Okay. Because I want you to have like that step-by-step timeline to understand that when you decide to make changes, sometimes it's messy at first. Sometimes we have to find our way through, and we have to start to develop like a relationship and a communication with our body to like figure out what our body is trying to tell us, right? Sometimes I think it's like, oh, I'm just going to wave a magic wand and take a supplement to make me stop bloating, or I'm just going to wave a magic wand and start this new diet where I eliminate all these foods in my life and thus eliminate all the joy from my life and stress myself out and try to figure out what's wrong with me, right? I hate that approach because it's like I would never do those things in my normal life. So why would I do them to try to solve something that's going down for me, right? So like for me, I always have to take a step back and go, okay, what's really important to me? I want to eat. I want to eat normally. I want to enjoy my food. I want that to be like how I'm going to eat for the rest of my life, right? And I also want to do the things physically that I love, strength train, and keep those things up because while I don't always feel like doing them all the time, they make me feel good and they make me feel like me and they're important to me, right? So anything that I do must be something that I'm willing to do for freaking ever, right? And so that's kind of how I run anything that I'm going to change about myself must kind of meet that test. So I just want you to be aware of that first. None of this is like a silver bullet to fix anything. It's very much, I would call it like a whole mama holistic approach to feeling good, having energy, allowing my body to continuously get stronger, sleep better, to make me the best me that I can be, right? And then as kind of like this side effect that is a really cool bonus, lose a little body fat along the way. Okay, so let's talk about the shifts that I started to do first. All right, I had no indication, like I wasn't really tracking my food last year at all, right? I have this awareness of what I eat. I generally tend to eat more of a balanced plate, a protein, a produce, a carbohydrate, okay? That's not new, but I had no, over the past year, I had no like how much was I eating, how little was I eating, was that very frequent and whatnot, right? So my first step in this whole process, and I would say like, honestly, like month one, so like I would probably say the January to mid-February timeline for me was my goal, and I'm going to read my notes here because I want to stay on task and make sure I give this to you accurately. I wrote it out. My goal was to find a place, an amount, right? An amount of food each day that made me feel energized, that made me feel my best, that supported my mood, that supported my sleep, that supported my movement, my everyday movement in my life, that literally supported me, the human being. And not just amount of food that would kind of help me skate by. My goal was to really find this place where I felt like I was thriving, okay? And that goal was magical. It took me a little while to figure that out, okay? And so I want to share how I did that. So inside of that umbrella of figuring out how to eat enough food each day, I would call it my maintenance level, right? Where my weight was no longer doing this like up and down, up and down, up and down swinging thing. It was didn't really move much, right? It was super, super stable. I would focus on eating enough each day. That was literally like my goal. Find the enough point to thrive, okay? And how I did that was I kind of had to break it down into a little bit of steps. I would try to eat every 3 to 4 hours, okay? That was kind of like my first step because I knew for me, I am a busy mom and I can go a long time without eating because I get distracted by kids. And then I'll like grab something off of my kids' plate and be like, okay, on to the next thing, right? Or on to the next practice or whatever, right? I needed to find a place where I was intentionally stopping to eat, like eat a plate of food every 3 to 4 hours, as a way to approach this as I'm fueling my energy, I'm fueling my body, I'm fueling this vessel right here, right? I'm constantly replenishing my energy, and I'm also being mindful of replenishing lost minerals and nutrition throughout the day. Obviously, as we eat things, we use things, right? And we burn through them. And so in my mind, this mentality was teaching my body that it was going to get food and receive more fuel and receive more nutrients regularly throughout the day. Now, I wasn't perfect at every 3 to 4 hours. Sometimes life happened. We had a really big move in between there, right? We had a really big move and we were trying to like sell our house and there was stuff going on. Most of the time I was trying to do that. Sometimes I did not, right? If I had to guess, I would tell you it was probably between like 70 to 80 to 85% of the time, depending on the month, that every 3 to 4 hours I was getting there, right? So I was using, and mentally, what I was noticing within a month, that, or the first month, I would say between January and February, right? I was using nutrition as a, like, I'm constantly replenishing you, body. This is a safe space to be, body, right? I'm going to feed you, body. I'm going to take care of you, body. I'm going to provide you regular fuel, and I'm going to provide you regular nutrients, right? And that was my goal. I was trying to teach my body, and probably myself a little bit, that it was safe to eat regular meals. Mentally, as a mom, that's not easy because you're like, I gotta get on to the next thing. I gotta go here. I gotta do this, right? I gotta be here. I'm already late. It's time to stop and pull back the reins and eat regular, sustaining meals to refuel, to re-nourish, to re-energize, right? What I noticed within a month, that I noticed that, first of all, my weight was steadier, right? It wasn't doing this thing anymore where it was like up a couple pounds and it was down a couple pounds. It wasn't swinging wildly. It was steadier. I did notice that I was up probably like 2 to 3 pounds consistently. Not every week, but like 2 to 3 pounds from like kind of like the average of where I had been, right? Over the course of the month. Well, I was like, I kind of expect that. That's not a thing for me, you know, like I am trying to intake more food. I was actually kind of surprised that it was only 2 to 3 more pounds, right? And it wasn't like 5 to 10. All right. But here's what I was noticing. I was noticing in that first, like through mid-February, my energy throughout the day had, you know, I still had my energy in the morning. That had not really changed. And I was noticing that after 2, like I was going longer and longer gradually, like I could make it to 3, I could make it to 4, I could make it to 5 before my energy was crashing, right? So I was seeing like this really big improvement in my energy overall, right? Across the day. And then gradually that was stretching out longer and longer and longer. What I noticed, even though my weight was up, technically by probably like an average of 2 to 3 pounds, my mood was much more regular. I was noticing much less of that snappiness and that anxiety's feeling, right? And that nervous energy. It was still present sometimes, right? I want to kind of put that out there because nothing is ever perfect. But I was noticing a significant improvement. I was noticing myself smiling a lot more and being actually content and having the presence to smile a lot more, right? And I was noticing that that weird bloating feeling that was showing up, like that fluidy feeling, it was not there. And I remember like looking back one day and going like, oh, I don't feel like that. Oh, I haven't felt like that for a while. Oh my God, I wonder when the last time I felt like that was, right? There was more of a calmness mentally and emotionally for me. There was also more of a calmness in my body physically, less nervous energy, less of the bloating stuff, less fluid overall, okay? So then, that was probably about the first month or so. And I want to kind of share what I focus on next. I was like, once I have this solid base down, right? I'm eating every 3 to 4 hours. I'm being cognizant that there's a protein there, there's a carbohydrate there, there's a little vegetable on there, and whatnot. Like, I'm getting this down. I was feeling pretty good about that. I was finding like my steady, right? That a good steady pace that actually felt good. And I was seeing signs like energetically, bloating wise, like, and whatnot, that would, and mood wise, that were like supporting, like, hey, these are green lights. Your body's giving you green lights. Like, let's keep going with it, right? Done. So the next bout, I would say maybe like the next month or the next time I focused on something, probably like mid-February, I was like, all right, I want to focus on, I can see nutritionally what I'm doing is important and that it's working, right? But I also need to focus on my, my ability to recharge, right? Raise your hand if you're a mom and you get sucked into your to-do list and getting things done and getting into the mom hustle, and it feels like you're always going and you're checking off things on a list and you are not ever like taking a break, because sometimes it makes you feel guilty to take a break. Raise your hand, right? That's me. So I was like, okay, you're really starting to get pulled at you shifted a little bit your nutrition, but you also need to shift your mindset, because you can nutrition yourself to death, but if your mind thinks like a bag of shit, then none of it really matters, right? And so what I tried to do in month 2-ish, or this, the time I made another shift, was I planned times during my day to recharge, or during my week to recharge. And here's what I mean. Like, that doesn't mean like I'm getting pedicures and shit like that. Like, those things are cool, but they're not, that's not what I want to do, right? I was like giving myself permission to sit down on the freaking couch for like 15 minutes and rest a couple times a day, right? Like, sometimes I work at home and sometimes I work in an office, and I was giving myself permission, or sprinkled around those times, to like sit down and take a freaking break and have a snack, or just chill out, right? Or lay down for 15 minutes, or stop doing to-do list stuff at certain points of the day and call it good for the day. Sometimes I would sit outside and get some fresh air, right? Or sometimes it would be like a simple, quick walk around the block to just recharge myself. And sometimes it would be like, okay, you need to give yourself a freaking bedtime and you need to put yourself to bed early, right? I was finding strategic breaks like that regularly throughout the week, but also trying to each day, right? As a way to take myself out of like going, kind of like that fight or flight mode, and bringing myself back to like rest and digest mode. Taking my body out of like the needing to always get more shit done, and my mind out of the need to get more stuff done, and pull back and do this and allow myself to rest and recharge my energy. So I was trying to recharge my energy nutritionally, right? We talked about that already. I also needed to wrap my head around why that was important to do that during the day as well. Not from nutrition, but from simply like the mindset of, I need to stop and give myself a freaking 15-minute time out to recharge and, just chill for a hot second before we keep doing life, right? Meanwhile, during that time, I was still trying to eat every 3 to 4 hours to like feed that energy into my body. I was still trying to feed that nutrition, be cognizant of minerals and all of that good stuff in my body. Like, where's my vitamin C's? Where's my magnesiums? What foods have those things? Where's my healthy fats? Where's my, where is my iodine? Where's my B vitamins coming from? And stuff like that. I was kind of like I was starting to put those pieces into place and be cognizant of what foods contained those things, right? Because those are important for us to function. Copper, all those minerals, right? And here's what I noticed. Probably about 4 to 6 weeks after kind of implementing those like rest breaks, still strength training three-ish days a week, and trying to eat 3 to 4 times or every 3 to 4 hours to intentionally fuel that energy and replenish lost fuel and lost minerals throughout the day. Here's what I was noticing, okay? My weight was still up, those 2 to 3 pounds, right? My energy was now carrying me. Like my drive for the day, my drive for the day was now carrying me until bedtime, right? Not every day like perfection, but more days than not, okay? I didn't notice. Here's a funny thing that I didn't even consider to begin with, which is silly because I'm a woman and I have a cycle. Around cycle time, like last year, late 2021, I would notice, like, I would joke, like, I have like 2 great days of a cycle where I'm in like an awesome mood, and then I have like 26 edgy ones, right? I completely forgot that I should be getting a period. And my period showed up. I was like, oh shit, there it is. Like I kind of forgot that it was coming, which also meant that my mood around that period was like much more stable, right? Much more like not the highs and the lows and the snap your head off and then like the, oh my God, I'm sad, and not the anxiety, right? I just like, my period showed up and I didn't even think about like where I was in my cycle because I wasn't noticing anything going down. So that was really interesting to me. That was like a whoa, like kind of a light bulb moment, right? My clothes were fitting a lot better and they were getting a little bit looser. Wasn't trying to do anything about that. Again, I was trying to fuel that energy and those, minerals throughout the day, every 3 to 4 hours. I was starting to dream during my sleep, and my sleep was deeper, obviously, because I was dreaming, right? And I wasn't noticing that funky bloating feeling still. And I sure as hell didn't notice it around my period because I didn't even know that my period was coming at that point, right? Because it just showed up and I wasn't even aware that it was that time of the month, right? So let's keep going, right? So month 3, here's what I'm trying to focus on. I'm reading my notes right now. I am now kind of finally, after 3 months, establishing like where my comfortable maintenance level of food is, right? It took a couple months to get that done because you do have ebbs and flows in there and you have to pay attention to what your body's telling you. It's not like you just like, this is my maintenance level of food and this is it for the rest of my life and I am fixed and everything is perfect. By about the end of month 2 into month 3 is where I was finding that maintenance level of food. Interestingly enough, I have not counted calories for years in my life because that was a pattern for me many years ago. That was a destructive one. And I was so very curious about where that was because I was like, what is it? How much am I eating calorically? What is the number, right? And I'll share my number with you, and I don't want you to use it as like that should be your number or anything, but it was a complete mindset shift because now I had this like I'm eating enough thing going on, right? And I was doing that and I was trying to eat every 3 hours and kind of find that space for myself. And now I was like, I'm kind of finding my body feels like it's thriving. My weight is, yes, up 2 pounds, but like that's probably largely unchanged, right? That's not a huge number. And it's also like my clothes were fitting better and my digestion and my bloating and like all that stuff was kind of leaving, and going away. And so I was really curious, like, how much am I eating calorically? Because I remember a time in my life where I was trying to eat, like 1,200 calories and exist there, or 1,500 calories and somehow exist there and tell myself that that was healthy and enough. Meanwhile, I was anxious as fuck, and I was not sleeping well and there was a lot of stuff going on, right? 2,500 is my average intake for calories. That I'm not telling you that to say that that should be yours. I'm not telling you that because that will be mine forever because things will change for me, right? But right now that's about 2,400 to 2,500 calories a day. Here's what I noticed about myself mentally is that to hit that 2,400 to 2,500 calories a day, it had to be on purpose. I had to do this intentionally, right? My natural inkling was not to put together balanced meals every 3 to 4 hours, right? Because there had been some stuff in my past where I had tried to lose weight way back when, and maybe like do some self-destructive stuff, even though at the time I didn't know it was self-destructive. And so I shocked the hell out of myself and I was like, you are holding a stable, steady weight at about 2,400 to 2,500 calories a day. You're working out. You're feeling pretty freaking strong. My energy during workouts was better than it had been, and I was actually feeling. I've been strength training for years, you guys, and this time I've been like feeling like I have that drive to work out. I have that, like, I wonder what happens when I push the weight on this exercise. Like, that's kind of coming back for me, right? I had settled, what I noticed, I was like settling into this place of like, my body, my mind, my emotions, my mood, my digestion, it just feels like more stable, more present, more steady. I would even call it like a safety feeling, right? There's no that nervous Nelly energy was kind of out, and it was more like this, just like, I'm me, you know, like I'm me, like I'm me, like I'm me, like I'm not like this nervous energy. I feel like I've settled into myself. I feel calm. I feel pretty present with my kids. I feel pretty, like, I feel great, right? My sleep has improved. My digestion has improved. My bloating has eliminated. My cycles are pretty drama-free, you know? Like, I was just noticing this about myself. It was almost like relaxing. This is gonna sound really silly. It's relaxing to be me. And I had been kind of like not that way for a really long time, right? So let's talk about what I noticed after kind of just still continuing to eat every 3 to 4 hours, eat enough during the day. I'm really just keeping those little rest breaks in there, trying to get my sleep. And then another shift that I made, and I probably forgot to say it, probably in like month 2, is I stopped drinking coffee first thing in the morning. I started eating first. Within about the first hour of my day, I would eat breakfast. Or if you don't call it breakfast, the first meal of the day was within an hour of me waking up. And I would wait to drink coffee until either I was eating that meal or I was completely done with that meal. Okay? So I just want to kind of say that because I think that's important. Here's what I noticed after about the first 3 months then. 4. Whatever. My weight dropped. It was almost like there was like this safe, stable. And then it was kind of like a whoosh out, right? And I would, so I'm doing the math in my head. So down, like probably like minus 5 to 7 pounds. Okay. And then just stayed there. It just stayed there like clockwork. Okay. Sleep is still good. I would say it's probably getting better all the time. Although, like, let's be honest, sometimes kids impact that, right? Even across the last, all of these months, like I still have kids and sometimes they don't sleep. So my sleep will never be perfect. None of ours will, right? We have kids and stuff going on, right? My cycles are like clockwork. They showed up like clockwork prior, so that's not unchanged, but my mood and my bloating around them has significantly improved, right? Again, I have that like relaxing feeling, that like settled in feeling, that safe, that stable feeling. I don't have that weird nervous energy anymore. That's kind of gone for me. And I will notice that it shows up sometimes when I can tell that I've not eaten enough, which is kind of interesting, right? And then it was really funny. My husband's like, we don't know what to get you for Mother's Day. What should we get you? My kids were like, what do you want for Mother's Day? And I'm like, well, I need some new clothes because like it's going to be warm out. And so they bought me new clothes, and it was a very definite, like, same stores that I've shopped at for quite some time. And I was down more than 1 full size in clothing, even though my weight is, not really super changed. And probably closer to 2, but not quite 2. So that is an indicator that body fat has lost, right? Naturally. Because I still weigh, roughly the same weight, but the space that I take up inside of my clothes is less, which means I have, improved like the muscle mass on my body and decreased the body fat, right? So while eating, roughly 2,500 calories a day-ish on average, and kind of finding my way in there and just being very intentional about how I'm eating and when I'm eating and that I'm eating enough, right? So I want to just talk about this for a second. Here's why I think it happened. I think that I was riding a roller coaster of nervous energy more than I realized. Probably like one of those little cortisol roller coasters where you wake up in the day and you start going and you just keep plowing through the day and just get shit done all day long, and you never you're always putting your body on high alert, right? And therefore your hormones on high alert, and your appetite on high alert, and your mood and your mind on high alert, right? And you're never allowing yourself that Chance to step back and take yourself out of that approach, right? And take yourself out of that place. And so for me, this was a very, very, very intentional shift of I'm stopping that roller coaster for myself. I don't need to live my life on high alert. I need to live my life very present for myself and for my family. And that is a choice that every one of us gets to make, right? And it's not an easy choice some days, because some days are really crazy, right? But it's still a choice that we get to make. And honestly, I think what was happening was I was getting up in the morning and I was, getting shit done, and I was drinking coffee, and then I would stop an hour or two later and I would have breakfast. Meanwhile, I had put myself on high alert by just getting up in the day and just kicking ass right away. And then I re-put myself on high alert by throwing caffeine on it with coffee. And so pulling back, eating food first within the first hour of the day, stepping back, easing into my day a little bit more, drinking coffee after the food's been consumed, and then regular intervals of eating every 3 to 4 hours at that nice maintenance space, being cognizant of minerals and getting minerals in through my food and not just assuming I need to supplement everything, right? And also just simply stepping back and allowing myself those mini little rest breaks to recharge before I go kick ass during the day. That's what I did. So that's literally what I did. And I can feel myself now at a space where I'm like, and those things just continue to improve and keep happening for me. I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm not trying to lose clothing sizes. I can find myself kind of naturally finding the best space for Amanda, right? And so that's it. So here's what's going down that I would like you to know about, and then I want to leave you with one final message, right? Because this is a case study. First thing that I want you to know about is that I'm actually teaching my workout club clients these same exact principles. We are step-by-stepping our way through them over the next 90 days inside of the Strong Metabolism Builders Lab going down. Step by step, we are going to apply the same healthy shift type principles to your life. And we're going to find not my version of your life, but like your version of your life, where we play this out into your life, right? If you would like to join us inside of that, I'm going to stick up a link in the comments below after I hang this one up, but you can just comment me and I'll send it right to you as well if you would like that information. But I only am taking in a couple clients for that, because we're really going to go through this like step by step. There's some serious like diving into each person that will go down. Okay. So some limited spaces there, and a couple are already gone. Now I want to leave you with a message from this case study alone. And from this approach, I just want to remind you of something. When you feel like, it can be easy to feel off, right, in your body. It can feel like you might notice bloating, you might notice aging, you might notice fluidy stuff, you might notice that your energy sucks, or that your sleep sucks, or that, things that you used to do food-wise or workout-wise no longer work, right? And what is really tempting to do is overcorrect. And then just say, F it, I want to fix this problem right now. And so I'm going to go do a crazy diet, or eliminate all of these foods, or start intermittent fasting, or it's endless what you could try to put yourself through, right? In order to correct the problem. The problem is when we try to do that, we overcorrect. Oftentimes unintentionally, not realizing what it will set us up for in the long run, right? And so I want to encourage you that when it is time to, make some sort of a change or a correction, that it is okay to step back and actually assess, what do I want here? What do I want this to look like for me, right? Not for other people, or not follow somebody else's like exact method or step-by-step plan. What does this look like for me as a human being? How do I want to live my life? What things are important to me? And then make simple shifts, like I did throughout these last, 6 months of 2022. Very simple shifts to accomplish those things without overhauling your entire life. And here's what happens when we do that. I'm a fan of the simple shifts. I really am. Because for me, going through that whole process for myself and choosing to put myself through that process, for me, it felt like I wasn't really doing a lot to get that to happen, right? I wasn't really having to try a whole bunch of new changes or try to do a bunch of new stuff. I was doing things that I was already doing, but I was gradually shifting them one by one into a holistic, healthy, natural for me space, right? Which means that at the end of, let's say, 6 months, I look back over my shoulder and I'm like, I just watched my physical body change. I watched my emotional, my mental body change. I watched my my energy levels change, my mood change, my cycle like settle in. I watched all of these things happen for myself, and it feels like I did not do anything to make them happen. I only made a few simple shifts, right? Because what happens when we try to take on something very, very new? We overcorrect and we try to do so many things at one time that we don't understand which things were the dial movers, because we're trying to do 18 different new things, right? And so then when we do get a result, maybe the scale went down, or maybe your energy or your sleep improved or your mood improved. You have 18 things to now keep up to keep that thing happening, right? You don't know which one of the 18 was the dial mover. So I encourage you, when it is time to make a change for yourself, and it's okay, those times do show up in your life, right? That's perfect. That's absolutely fine. We all go through seasons of when we need and want to change things. That it's okay to start slowly, make simple shifts so that when you are changing things, you can watch how your body responds to those changes so that we know what works, because often, or what works for you, right? Because oftentimes we end up with 4 or 5 things, over the course of 6 months to a year that were actual dial movers, right? Versus when we try to do it really fast and really like all at one time, we end up turning fitness and food into a job for ourselves because we're trying to do too much, because we no longer know what was the thing that was actually working, right? So I hope you enjoyed this case study. It was, I would like to do more case studies like this for you guys, because it's super helpful to see how it goes on another human being, right? Another mom who's also living a busy life, who has 2 younger kids, who's just trying to keep up with going to softball and t-ball and literally everything else that goes on in life, right? Just like the rest of you guys. And it's just helpful to see how those shifts that we do make, how they trickle out along the way, right? How they trickle out along the way and how they impact our life and all of that good stuff, right? So I hope you enjoyed this. Again, I think I have 3 spaces left. I had started with 5 for the Strong Metabolism Builders Lab. Literally everything, my step-by-step process to building a strong system, a strong body, a strong metabolism, a strong entire life and approach to yourself, getting stronger, getting way more energy, and losing a little body fat naturally along the way. If you would like to join us in that, we begin on July 3rd and we go roughly through September 30th inside of my workout club. Comment me and I will get you that information. And I also link it up here after I hang this one up. All right? You guys have a happy Tuesday. Bye-bye.